Good afternoon, everyone. I am Corina Claudigel Ovidad, BSE General Science 2, currently taking the course Technology for Teaching and Learning 1. We interview secondary teachers where they answered these following questions. Number 1, do you often use technology in teaching? Number 2, in your opinion, why is it essential to utilize appropriate technology in the teaching and learning process? Number 3, have you ever been on a dilemma in selecting which instructional material is best for the class, and how do you solve that dilemma? And number 4, what are the factors that you always consider before selecting appropriate instructional material for the class? Actually, there are 4 teachers who are responded these following questions. Starting with Ma'am Y, she answered yes, she often used technology in teaching. In her own opinion, utilizing appropriate technology in the teaching and learning process promotes active participation of the learners as well as there is a retention of learning. In number 3 and 4, she answered this. Sometimes, the dilemma in selecting an instructional material is that the learning objectives or outcomes you set does not align or suit the strategies that you want to apply in the learning process. Selecting best instructional material to be used in the teaching and learning process requires a thorough planning, meaning teachers need to consider the effectiveness and applicability of such instructional material in the teaching and learning process. As teachers, planning is very important, especially in the integration of technology as our instructional material. In doing our lesson plan, we see to it that the instructional materials should jive with the objectives that we set for the students to learn. It's useless if the instructional materials is not in line or parallel to the objectives or strategies that we will apply in the teaching process. The same question was being asked to Ma'am KF and she responded to me these answers. Yes, I often use technology in teaching. In her opinion, the integration of appropriate technology in the teaching and learning process can result to a more engaging, effective, and student-centered educational experience. She also said that she's been in a dilemma in selecting instructional material that is best for her class, but she resolved it through considering the learning style of her students, ensuring that the IMs align with the lesson objectives, and staying updated with the teaching methods and strategies through professional development. In selecting appropriate IMs for the class, she always considered that the learning objectives are aligned with the IMs and relevant to the students' needs and interests. Also, she stated that she considered the materials that are clear and easy to understand and accessible. Moreover, it is also important to consider the accuracy, reliability, and cultural sensitivity of the material, she stated. While Ma'am Lovely also answered the given questions with a no. And she also uses technology sometimes in her teaching method. And according to her, she thinks one of the reasons why it is essential for us to utilize appropriate technology in the teaching and learning process is to really address the needs of the learners. In that way, the technology that we are using will be effective and beneficial to our learners. And according to her, she have been in a dilemma since they have heterogeneous learners, means they have different learning styles. And she can say it's a bit tricky to select an instructional material that is suitable to the class. Knowing the needs of your learners and being resourceful is one way to solve that kind of dilemma, according to her. And she stated that the factors that being considered is the needs of learners and the availability of resources. The last teachers to respond the questions are Mom Rachel, where she answered yes, she almost used technology every day in her teaching strategies. And according to her, in today's generation, since they are 21st learners, teachers should utilize appropriate technology not only to catch attention, but also to lead the students to an engaging learning process. According to her, with this, the teaching process will be effective to them. She also stated that so far, haven't experienced it. I always make it sure that my lessons are ready with instructional materials. So far, I only use one for all classes. And she also stated that first is the lesson to be taught. She makes sure that the instructional materials would be the best way to transfer the learning. And second, the students suited ba or shall I adjust to higher level and etc. That's her response to the given questions. This is my conclusion. From the data that have been collected through an interview with different secondary teachers, different essentials of technology in teaching and learning have been stated. To sum up, technology promotes active participation. It is also the strategy to retain the learnings. It also encourages engagement, and some view it that using technology is effective. They also said that it is a way to achieve a student-centered educational experience. It is also a method to address the needs of learners to have an effective and beneficial learning experience. But not all the time is that technology, which is easy, effective, and appropriate. Teachers also stated that some learning objectives or outcomes are not aligned or suited to strategies to apply technologies. They also raised the concerns of having heterogeneous learners who have different learning styles, which will make it hard for them to select appropriate technology. Since teachers are solvers, they share some solutions to address dilemmas in selecting instructional materials that are best for the class. One solution is considering the learning style of students. Others are ensuring that the instructional materials are aligned with lesson objectives. They also share that staying updated with the teaching methods and strategies through professional development helps address the problems. Knowing the needs of learners is a must. Being resourceful is natural to all teachers in solving dilemmas. At the same time, make sure that you should ready the instructional materials in every lesson. According to the teachers, the different factors to consider are selecting the best instructional material through planning and considering the effectiveness and its applicability. Instructional materials should jive with the objectives is also stated. Learning objectives are aligned with instructional materials and relevant to the student's needs and interests is another one to consider. They also said that materials should be clear and easy to understand and accessible. Accuracy, reliability, and cultural sensitivity of the material should also be considered. The needs of learners are the priority and make sure that availability of resources is monitored. Therefore, the lesson and the students are the foundation in every selection of appropriate technology to be utilized in teaching and learning. Technology is one of the advantages and strengths of the 21st century. Technology is almost present in every task nowadays. Education is already using technology as part of how they teach and how the students learn. Therefore, teachers must integrate technology into the diverse and new generation of learners. At the same time, learners should just use technology as their aid in learning and not depend on it. So this is my reflection from the activity. Teaching is a crucial task since it requires learning for the students. Addressing different problems and situations is already a difficult task that requires understanding and problem solving. Learning, on the other hand, is necessary for the development and progress of a community and society. With education, it can change the present to be a better future. Therefore, teaching and learning should adapt the demands of change. One of the strengths and advantages of this generation is technology. The 21st century is way more different from the past. Advance is the new trend of everything. So, technology is a need for education. It is a must for teaching and learning. The conducted interviews shows that teachers stated the different essentials of technology in teaching. It has a great result for the learning process of the students. It is effective for learning retention and student-centered engagement. From the results, it achieves the 21st century skills that are required in education. Therefore, technology is effective in education. But they also discuss the different dilemmas, such as that technology is not appropriate to the learning objectives and the situation where students have different learning styles. Within that, integration of technology is questionable if it is needed or it is effective. At the same time, it will concern teachers if they are applying the inclusivity for learners. Therefore, teachers tend not to integrate technology or to overuse technology in their strategies. It is a challenge for teachers to go with the trend on using technologies even though it is hard to find appropriate materials. To overcome such dilemmas, teachers should be flexible, resourceful, and creative in selecting appropriate technologies. Planning is the best way to solve problems. Within that, teachers carefully select appropriate technologies for teaching. Decision making is a must for teachers to implement it effectively. Also, support is another solution to overcome such problems. There are so many factors to consider in selecting appropriate instructional materials. A few of them are proper selection, where it was critically sorted to have the best instructional materials. Being culturally sensitive should be taken into consideration when deciding to select instructional materials. Availability of resources is one of the necessary things to consider. But knowing the content of the lesson and the ability of the student is the simplest but critical to put in mind when selecting the best instructional materials. Integrating technology is embracing the new generation of education. There are still problems, but opportunities and solutions are just in the depths of our minds. Technology is actually helpful if we utilize it effectively. It's within us if we abuse it or let the technology overcome everything. Remember, humans created technology. That's all. Thank you.